The more human you can be with your story, the more the world will relate to you and make sense to you because you're actually telling the story you're meant to be in. And, then things start to fall into place and, a young kid from Sri Lanka's come to Melbourne and now he's a TED speaker. Good afternoon to you on this wonderful Melbourne afternoon. Wow, we've had some cold weather, but today was one out of the book, 19 degrees, sunny, the autumn leaves are turning. And I tell you what, I have a live stream for you today for these times when all we need to do is just invest in ourselves in a little bit, learn a little bit from someone else, take their wisdom that suits you and use it to improve your own lives. That's what we're doing today. Storytelling and its impact on social change with my very special friend, Sharan
Velauthan.
That's it.
Influencing the thinking of billions of people every year. They are the thought leaders, educators, and extroverts. Meet the minds behind the microphones. The experts who share from the stage, encouraging us to think differently, do more, and ultimately strive to succeed. Welcome to the Keynotes Speaker Show. Here's your host, Jonathan Creek.
Every week, that intro causes me complete grief. Now, Sharan, who I introduced before the intro rolled and we had a little bit of a giggle, a proper welcome now. We're going to have a little bit of a laugh. It was going to be perfect. And then this intro, it thinks it's better than everyone, this intro. I tested it 3 times before I got you on the line. And it's got this delay. I don't know how I'm going to guess the delay. Last week it was a second. Today it was like 3. Mate,
You get there, man. We are the trials for you, and that's okay.
it's like I'm in live stream kindergarten.
I love that.
My friends and I, we've got a hashtag that we use when things go wrong online. It's called hashtag Tech is Hard. And this intro, I'll tell you what, I'm going to almost scrap having an intro.
When I used to work for IT firms in different capacities, I never was a software engineer, but I worked in different other roles. And the biggest thing was whenever clients called us, we used to say, "Have you tried turning it off and turning it on again?" That would be the biggest meme that we'd use on every single client. And we lost a few, but at least the meme stays strong.
Oh, I'm 100% with that. Like, as you know, I used to work for a big media company and they had a big tech department, and all those guys ever did was come down and turn your computer on and off. That's it. I was like, I could have done that. And they go, yeah, but you didn't know to do that. And it's like, well, no, I didn't. But
That's true. That's what pays them the big bucks.
just be an official button turner on or offer, huh? Now, Sharan, I've got your first name right, haven't I?
Close enough.
Sharan?
We'll go with it.
You say it. Come on.
Sharan.
Sharan.
Yep.
Not
That's
you don't
the
get,
one.
and now that you're here at university in Australia, originally from Sri Lanka,
Absolutely.
do you get called Shazza?
Actually, just once, surprisingly. I thought I would get called it more, but like Sharan is like quite an accepting name in Australia, so they just call me Sharan.
Sharan.
But other friends who have more Sri Lankan names, they have to like rename themselves pretty much.
Yeah. Well, I must admit that Sharan or Sharan, Aussies probably give it all sorts of different emphases and try and make it a bit fancier than what it is, or play it down, or we're masters at butchering other people's accents. That's for sure. I'm number one up there. I'm a white bread Aussie kid who grew up in I don't think we didn't have anyone from any other country in the world in our street. I'm pretty sure we're all just European Aussies. And then I went to school at a place called Melbourne High, which was mainly multicultural. And at the age of 14 or 15, that was a massive awakening for me, because I was like, look at all the richness in all these other cultures and getting to understand them. And I didn't
think that's
quite
the
master
best
their
part,
names though.
one of the biggest like beautiful things that I've experienced coming to Melbourne is just learning about different cultures and just being exposed to that. Like in Sri Lanka, I purposely put myself in a bubble as well. But the thing is, we're such a small, tiny island, and then I come to Australia and see all these cultures and people working together and ways of working. Sometimes it can be frustrating, but sometimes it can be beautiful. So like that was my biggest shock, and like it was a big eye opener for me as well. So I can relate to that.
Yeah, now we met at the recent TEDx Docklands. What a massive event and a great day for you.
Absolutely, man. I was like, to this day, I relive the call that I got from Tanzo, who called me to say that to offer me the speaking opportunity, and I still don't believe it because in my mind, as he called me, I was just like, in my mind, I wouldn't say this out loud because I'd look like a non-professional, but like in my mind, I was just like, are you sure you have the right number? But that's how much disbelief I was in. But oh man, it was such an amazing experience. Absolutely humbled to have been on that stage.
Well, as you know, I was there and I witnessed it, and you certainly weren't out of place. You did a great
Thanks,
job.
man.
Great
Thank
job.
you so much.
Is speaking something that you want to explore more in life? A bit hard at the moment, obviously, but this will pass.
Absolutely, man. I think, yeah. So I spoke a lot about the title of this show today, like storytelling and how it can impact social change. I think using our stories to make a difference in some way is like very important. And the thing that I say is like not everyone is open to talk about their stories publicly or even on social platforms, and that's okay. But storytelling isn't close to being on a stage or being a social influencer or like a change maker. It can even be in your home. It can even be around your friends. Using your story, if it is inspirational or if you know stories that can inspire other people, like I think it's our duty to keep using the right language, be using empathy and compassion as like key strengths to like spread positive stories so that people like make a difference. Like I have so many times that like people have messaged me and told me amazing things that they have done because they've heard my story. And how beautiful is that, like my story was able to help somebody else. Like it comes down to relatability because nobody talks about it so openly.
Yeah, and I think we're in this sort of strange time where people sort of try and hide their true stories, and they don't want to tell their true story in fear of being judged, so they look at someone that they think they want to be and try and put themselves in the role of someone else's story. Now, I'm a storyteller. I study story a lot. I mean, it's what I love, and that's why I love talking to you, because we can explore it together, and it's much more fun when you got a friend. But the problem that people don't realize is when you try and put yourself into someone else's story, you don't have the right archetypes or character traits to feel comfortable in that role. So it's eventually going to crash and burn, and you're going to be way worse off than you were if you just stuck to your own story.
Absolutely. And I think that's when it comes to, I always say, like, it's like a disclaimer, like whenever you purchase a product or service, it's like a disclaimer saying, look, what works for me won't necessarily work for you. But the thing is, you have to at least try new things to get yourself out of this rut that you're in right now, Yeah. So like even in this position that we're all in, we're staying at home to save lives, which is awesome. But staying at home has brought mental health and self-reflection and all of these things to the news and stuff like that when it never was before. And I think that is a good thing. There's always good things from bad things. And I think that at least, so for me, I see all of these, we had a chat about this, but I'll say it again. Like I see all of these people being productive and learning new things, and I'm not bashing them. Like, good on you, like do it. That's freaking awesome. Like you're motivating people to do new things. Man, I just want to make it through this, And like I'm actually learning from other people's stories right now to like keep myself, like my mental health sane, to make sure that I do good self-reflection and make sure I realize like what type of person I am, to realize like how I can cope with these situations in the future as well. Like you never know what could happen, right? So for me, it's just self-learning, and I'm learning from other people. So it's about not putting yourself in their shoes, but picking picking what relates to you and what could work for you. Like, there's no harm in trying those things, but it's also like knowing where to draw the line, because every single one of us is unique. Like, there's never going to be another Sharan, for example, right? And that's okay. But if something that I do helps you get through your day, awesome. If I follow someone today that helps me get through my day, awesome. Like, at this point, man, to be honest, I just want to get through each day. Like, I'm not even looking at the light at the end of the tunnel. I just want to get through the first step, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, 100%. I think there's the very first guest on this show, a guy by the name of Rick Rushton, who is a great mentor of mine. He, when this all started to unfold, he put up a post, and I think I've mentioned it on this show before. Is he put up a post saying, "You're in your car at night and you're driving. All you need to worry about is what's in the headlights, nothing else." And that's a great way to look at the environment that we're in. It's really interesting, though, that because we live in this social media era, there's just so much humble bragging going on. And I would have thought that, given everything that's going on, that maybe the humble bragging would have taken a bit of a break. But it seems as though it's going into overdrive. And what we're getting is people... almost, and good luck to them, the same, boasting about how busy they are, and I'm pushing through this, and this is going to be great, and that's fine, and that can be a really good message for some people who are stuck. But for people who have got challenges and who that message doesn't suit, do you think that if you hear it too often and get saturated with it, it can have a negative experience on people?
Oh man, absolutely. I always say, just like you can filter your life out by like choosing your friends, choosing your family sometimes, and choosing your relationships, filter your social media. I have told some of my closest friends who are creators in social media platforms, I've told them that I've muted their stories and their posts because their posts and stories give me anxiety. In 2019, I used to do a lot. That's why it like brought me to who I am kind of like today. But to be honest, man, like I can't go back and do what I did in 2019 right now. That's not the environment that I'm in. That's not in the mental space that I'm in. So for me, dude, I filter every single thing because I see what you see, right? Like I see people who want people to win, but not as much as them. I see people who are super productive, good intent, but even if it's good intent, how is it affecting your thought process and your anxiety? So for me, dude, like I filter it. I mute people and their posts and their stories. I stay away from social media. Like LinkedIn, I've been like pretty much non-existent because I've seen way too many people being productive, and I can't handle that right now. Just like the news, man. I used to keep in touch with the news a lot, but now I've like filtered it out because like I would rather let my mom or one of my friends come and tell me like a small update of what's going on rather than just the infection rate or the death toll being updated every single day to me. So you have a choice, man. The tools are there. It's literally up to you to choose which stories you want to follow and which stories you don't want to follow. Like that's what I've told my followers as well. Like if my content ever makes you anxious, unfollow me. It's okay. Like for me, mental health is more important than a number. And like if you want to leave this story, if you want to temporarily mute me, anything you want to do it. Because right now we just got to take care of ourselves, man. Just got to take care of ourselves. And by taking care of ourselves, we take care of the people who are suffering out there, including our healthcare workers.
Yeah, 100%. Well said. Yeah, round of applause for you. If I had one, I'd play. Actually, here we go. You got it, man. Well done.
I love that.
Because you're wearing your heart on your sleeve here. For people who don't know you, you're really in touch with your feelings. Yeah, you're not hiding anything. You're open with people. It didn't take that long for us to have met and introduce ourselves, and then I got an insight into what it is that drives you and your passion. And it's not all rainbows. It's not all fast cars and rainbows in Sharan's life. But you're using what you've got to push forward and to help others, and I'm guessing that you're one of those people that really strives off helping others. Can you tell us how this journey started, and then we'll go back to your childhood, because I've never been to Sri Lanka, so I'm sure it's pretty different to Melbourne, especially 20 years ago. So first, how did you get started with this, and where did the passion come from to do what you're doing?
Absolutely, man. I think I learned a lot when I came to Australia. I love my country. I love Sri Lanka, but Sri Lanka is a long way to go in terms of talking about taboo topics, what they deem are taboo topics. But like I have gone through a lot that I never dealt with, that I never knew that was even there. Like a quick snapshot of like my backstory. Like Sri Lanka is a beautiful country, but I've been through some stuff in terms of my mom married against family wishes. Like it was a love marriage, and that made me grow up in a judgmental family. So that made me feel very insecure about like who I was. So that was one chip on the
Hold
shoulder.
on a minute, can we just explain that? It was a love marriage. So
It was, yeah. So
like what we
yeah,
would
for the
like
people who
what
don't
we'd
know,
take for
so-
granted in Australia is like the only way you get married. Well, I'm being a little bit narrow-minded here, but 90% of marriages in Australia are usually based on marriage, on love. Sorry. So you're saying it was a love marriage, and
Yep. So
and
there's
that-
two types.
Yeah.
There's arranged marriages
Yeah.
where families introduce their daughters or their sons to the other family's daughter or son,
Yeah.
and basically they check astrology and they make sure that everything's right in terms of money, so that like the man can take after the woman, and like it's like a whole thing. It's like a whole thing that's changed a lot now since my mom's days. Trust me, it has.
so they check
I'm
the
not-
star signs.
Oh man, they check the star signs, man. They make sure that the star signs are like aligned. So there's like a huge thing. And then like
You know what I'm doing tonight? After this, I'm going to some Sri Lankan website and I'm going to work out whether Aries goes with Virgo, because I've been married to my wife for 17 years and I don't know whether I want to do that search or not, but
you're supposed to do that before marriage. So maybe let's not find out things you don't need to know right now.
well, that's right. Well, I met my wife when I was like 4 or 5 years of age. So, jeepers, if the Sri Lankan website comes out and says that we're not compatible, I don't know how we're going to have that conversation over the dinner table.
Oh man, dude! But I'm telling you, the thing is, I've never been a believer of those things. I've never been a believer of religion either. I respect all people who follow religion, but I've never been a believer.
And is that a big thing in Sri Lanka, not to be religious, or is it a bit like here?
Nah, I think people are pretty religious because we're a diverse culture, right? We have Christianity, we have Catholicism, we have Buddhism, we have Islam, we have Hinduism. Like, we have a wide range of like cultures in Sri Lanka, and a lot of people are pretty religious, to be honest. Like, you see so many different churches, temples, kovils, which is for Hindus, and mosques like all over Sri Lanka, which is nice. It's awesome. It's like super cultured. But like me personally, like I never believed. But like sometimes, man, that astrologer, when he comes home to like read my future, man, that man's got some shit right. Like I used to always.
What was
think,
that?
oh,
Like
man.
your 13th birthday present? Your parent? What did you get me, Ma? I got you I got you an astrologer for an hour.
Nah, my mom was awesome with gifts. Like she just did like a quarterly like checkup with the astrologer to see like how we're going. But
Quarterly?
man, yeah, like a quarterly like checkup, like
That's
to
more
see
than
like.
people get their blood tested or their mortgage checked. I'm learning stuff today. This is why I do this show, folks, to learn stuff like this. Oh man, if I want to be an astrologer in Sri Lanka, that's a
Man,
business opportunity. They're doing quarterlies.
They make buck. They make so much money. Like it's not even funny. They make like $50 a session, and $50 a session in Sri Lankan money is a lot.
Oh man, I want to learn how they marketed this, because when I first left the comfort of my corporate job and went out to work for myself, I remember my parents, they lived down the peninsula, down the beach, and I went down there and look, I was anxious. I had fears. I'd never written a business plan or whatever, and my dad, he'd been a long time CEO and a pretty high performer. I mean, like the guy's got an Order of Australia, so you know that's what we're dealing with. Alpha sort of male type of business dude. And I remember sitting with him and we were driving. He's got this little moke car that he drives around in. He's got other cars, but this is his favourite sort of beach car. And I'd gone down there to write the business plan with him, thinking that this thing was just going to give me all the answers. And And we're going to get lunch, and we're driving past. He goes, "Are you worried that this might not work?" And I said, "Oh, absolutely, I'm worried that this might not work." I said, I'm trying to do something different. It's a different model for production companies. It's a different model for teaching video. I'm not trying to make people's videos. I'm trying to teach them how to make their own. Phones aren't that good yet. Will they invest? Don't know. I'm sort of trying to put myself out of my business. And at that very time, we drove past a house that had a sign for horoscope readings or whatever it was, tea leaves, one of those. And he looked at me and said, listen, if the person in that house can make enough money to afford that house, then you can make more than enough money teaching people how to use video. And anyway.
Man, that's
I don't know.
true.
I don't know. I reckon
that's so true.
I reckon the astrologers in
how
Sri Lanka are making more money than the video makers.
It's all about perspective at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But just to get back to what I was saying before. So like I had a judgmental family. I've been bullied like in 2 different schools. Haven't been treated well by women, unfortunately. And more. It's just a whole cycle of things that like added little chips to make me like little insecure, shy and like away from people. And then I finally got the opportunity to study abroad. So like undergrad, I did it in Sri Lanka. All of my friends went abroad, and I would always see them return back from studying abroad. Like they would always be like more culturally aware. They would be more intellectual with how they handle themselves in conversation. And they went to the States, so 2 of my best friends. And I was just like, where is this coming from? And I would always love hanging out with them because they would just talk about world issues, about social issues, and I just like absorb and learn that. And I was just like, man, like obviously you can learn these things from the internet, but like these guys have like put themselves out there and they're learning so much. Like, would it change for me as well? But financially, I was never gonna get the opportunity to go. So I studied in Sri Lanka, and then I finally got to come to Australia. 2 reasons. I came from my ex-girlfriend because love makes you do stupid things, but in retrospect, it changed my life as well. And also for university. So when I came here, man, I really struggled. Like I loved the country. I did really well at uni, but I was going through a breakup. I was alone here. I didn't know anyone. The financials weren't good. Like I was working as a coach. And they paid me well. They didn't pay me under the table or any of that international students have to go through. Like I was paid, but like it still wasn't enough to like cover rent. So having a single mom, like she was taking loans to pay for these things, and all of those things were affecting me, man. Like the biggest thing that I want to do is pay it back to my mom and make sure that she's okay. So like seeing her struggle she's obviously doing it with a smile. Like she's one of the most resilient people I know. But like it just affects me mentally. And then after my breakup, like I was talking to my 2 best friends all the time, like every single night almost. And I was just saying the same thing over and over again. And the biggest thing when you're going through something is you just want to be heard. You just want to be heard by the other person, and you need active listeners to listen to you. And those are my 2 best friends. But then it came to a point where I wasn't recovering from this. I wasn't recovering from all of these chips that had imploded in me. And it was making me contemplate taking my life. Like I had already tried to take my life once in Sri Lanka and Melbourne twice because it was just nothing was working out, man. And it was just at that point, trust me, at that point when you're in such a corner, you start to tell yourself it's actually better if you do. You actually start telling yourself that people will be better off with you no longer existing. It's just that mental phase that you're in. I know not everybody will get that, and that's okay. I'm glad you don't, because that means you haven't been in that position, and I never want anyone to be in that position. But trust me, when your back's against the wall and you don't see the light, you just see how it's better off just to end your life. And that's a very dark and depressing place to be. But then my friends are like, Sharan, this I will always remember what Dushant, my best friend, told me. He basically said, Sharan, we can tell you the same thing every day for the rest of your life, but you are not going to get better by us saying this. You need to seek out professional help. And after he said that, something just clicked, and I was just like, this is so true. Like, I'm just going in a vicious cycle, and I'm not taking care of myself, and I'm thinking about self-harm like all the time. And then I did it, man. My university, RMIT, gives free counseling, and they're one of the best accredited free counseling services. And I went to them, man, and I completely took a 360. I started 180 actually. I started putting more effort into myself. It's where I realized where I was pouring out of an empty cup, and this had really affected me because I saw my mom doing it. I saw my mom pouring out of an empty cup. She used to look after everybody except for herself. She never did any self-care, and she was okay with that. But a generational difference, right? We are so into technology, social media. We see so many amazing things out there compared to older generations, and that takes its toll. And I was just like, yeah, this. I need to start treating myself right. This is when I started meeting people. I started networking. I started speaking. I started changing my social media. So my social media was initially food and travel. And I was just like, this is so meaningless. Like, no bashing to food and travel reviewers, but this is so meaningless to my life. And I need to do something that's meaningful to mine. And then I completely changed to like a mental health advocate and advocating for the right things like mental health, positivity, motivation, and just everything related to life stories, man. And I spoke about bullying. I spoke about my mom. And I lost a lot of people because it wasn't the content that they came for. But I gained a lot of genuine engagement and people who really enjoyed the content that was there. And to this day, it's been a roller coaster. But I'd have to say, man, it's because of the cultural change that I went through in Australia that I've come this far. Man. I know that's a long story, but I hope that adds something.
Well, for starters, I just want to say I'm so sorry that to hear that you'd been into those dark places. But it's something that I hear a lot, that you do convince yourself that, you know, everyone will be better off. I don't think that's ever the case, to be honest, but you're not thinking clearly. So,
yeah.
For starters, I just want to say I'm glad you didn't go through with it, because you and I wouldn't have met, and I truly value having you around. So, so good on you for having the strength to get through that.
Absolutely, man. And I think I just want to add, like, don't be sorry about it, because I think the biggest thing is everything that has happened to our lives have led us to this moment right here, having this talk.
Yeah.
You know? And I think it's all about perspective at the end of the day. Like, the biggest thing that puts me off is people don't understand what the definition of depression and suicidal thoughts mean. And they tend to misuse it for different things on social media and stuff like that. It's just that people don't realize how much pain it is to write a caption talking about taking your life. People don't realize how hard it is talking about it on chats like this, or like on my live shows that I do from time to time that I've taken a break from now. But I do live shows that I talk about mental health a lot. But people don't see the toll that it takes on a person. So like, if you're someone who's genuinely going through these things, give yourself more credit, because you're incredible. You're an incredible person. You deserve to live, and you deserve to experience all the fine things in life. But if you're a person who's misusing it because you don't understand what it is, whether that's for social media or a relationship or to abuse a person, please don't, because you're doing a disservice to every single person who has experienced this and who has been clinically depressed or going through antidepressants or hospitalized. All of those things, you're doing a disservice to them. So please be mindful of how you talk about these things, number one. And if you are someone who's genuinely going through this and you're just talking about it just to get attention, you need help. And you're doing disservice to a lot of people who are going through this right now.
Whew. So much to unpack in those last two answers, but I'm 100% with you. Let's go back to what we touched on at the start, because, you know, I mentioned at the start, if you start trying to put yourself into someone else's story, it doesn't work. And that, to me, sounds like what you were doing with the travel and the food posts on social media. And essentially, that was happening at a time when you were lost or becoming lost, right? And
yeah,
now,
sorry.
And and now you've just started to tell your story, which is a hard story to tell, like really hard. So you've become brave enough to stand up and say, you know what? No matter what happens, I might lose some friends, whatever. I don't know where this is going to lead. People might laugh at me. People might judge me. People might call me weak. People might do whatever. You've said, no, I'm going to be brave enough to be me in my own skin. And not only do that like amongst your friends, but to do it publicly. And that's really what sparked. You got a fairly significant Instagram following. So you started to tell your story, which allowed you to get the followers that you've got now, grow the audience that you've got, and that's how you're having your impact, through telling your own story, not someone else's. That's power,
Absolutely.
man. That's power right there.
Absolutely, man. And thank you for that. And I think, yeah, the food and travel thing, like, it's something I enjoyed, but like, it's something that added no value, man. And for me, like, I want to be a part of societies and organizations that add value. And when I switched it resonated with myself a lot more. Like, I was being selfish at that point, but sometimes you just have to be selfish to add more value to yourself so that you can add more value to other people. And yeah, man, I think, if for me, dude, it's all about helping one person, very honestly. Like, even the live shows, even talking about this content, anything, like, it's not a number. Like, people who follow me are not numbers. People forget that they're actual living beings who have entirely outside lives that are following your story, right? And for me, even if it's 10 people that follow me and really enjoy the content, or it's helping them getting through their lives, that's 10 whole lives. People don't realize the power of that. And for me, it's like making sure that I impact one whole life if I can, and that's enough for me.
That's 80 years of attention, right?
Man, crazy, dude. People don't. It's all about perspective, man. They're just like, oh, why am I not growing as fast, or like, why am I not like getting enough followers? I'm just like, followers are people too. Like, if you have content that resonates with them, whether it's like food and travel, or whether it's fitness, whatever it may be, if your intent, like, it comes down to intention, right? If your intention's in the right place and you're working really hard to produce that content, like, you teach people to produce like awesome videos. Like, if your videos are engaging, people will like snap on, and they're just like, oh my God, like, this person's helping me with my life. People more and more are starting to disconnect from people that are making them feel insecure and small. So like, be careful with the content that you put out there, and just work hard.
So tell us about how you've used storytelling, your story, for social impact. What are some of the things that you've done? Because in your TEDx, and we've got a screen, I'm going to bring up the screenshot right now. Here's Sharan. Where did I move that to? Here we go. Here he is on the stage of TEDx, looking very sharp in your jacket and your shirt. Firstly, before we get into your story, how was that moment for you? This is the very first frame. People have just stopped clapping. There's silence, and they're ready for you to have a chat. What were you thinking in that very second?
It was insane. I was nervous, but at the same time, like you guys said, right? Like, for the people who don't know, all of you guys were helping me the day before and telling me that the vibe would be completely different on the day, and you guys could not have been more right. The vibe was like so different. The energy levels were different. It's just that I knew that I didn't know any of these people, but you can play off energy off a crowd, and this is something I realized being on that stage. And I was just like, Sharan, this is your heart. This is your heart. You don't know the speech line to line, and you purposely intended not to know this line to line because you know the flow of it. Whatever comes out of your mouth right now, it's coming from your heart. And you know how to speak, like, you know it. Just do what you need to do, get it out there. And then I just started speaking, man. Like, I just started speaking. I heard like gasps. I heard like later on that people were like crying, and I got like hugs afterwards. And it was just like, in that moment, if you're asking that moment specifically, I just had to tell myself, Sharan, it's your heart. Like, you are literally ripping your heart out and making yourself the most vulnerable person you can possibly be in this incredible stage. And this is what you need to do right now. And then I did it.
Did it indeed. You rocked it.
Thanks, man.
It is funny, it just came to my mind. What's harder than doing a TEDx? Doing the audition for a TEDx or the rehearsal for a TEDx.
Oh my God, dude. The audition day was so bad.
You got two people in the room, big empty theater.
Tanza's a big joker, but he actually came up to me and he's like, you've spoken before, right? It's just like, oh no. But for the people who don't know, just to add context, on the audition day, I forgot all of my lines. that TEDx logo on the floor there was just like so powerful that it just overtook my thinking process. And I literally forgot my first few lines, that I looked over to a piece of paper, and as I like glanced back towards the stage, everyone was just staring at me with disbelief. And I was not disbelief, but like staring at me like confused, because that was like my first few lines. Like that's literally your introduction, Sharan. But like you guys were like super supportive. Like you guys just like told me what it was like. You guys didn't hold it back. Like you guys were super supportive. But that audition day, like I'm telling you, man, I went later on that night and I practiced with 2 other friends and I smashed it. I absolutely smashed it. But it was just the pressure on the day. It was incredible.
I'll admit to you, like I did mine the year before, obviously, and same. I stuffed up my audition. I got about 3/4 of the way through. I think I just let myself breathe. I was like, oh, this is good. I've got this. And then bang, gone, disaster. Went home. I think I came home and similar. I got my wife and maybe my kids, and I rehearsed it. I think I rehearsed it maybe 2 or 3 times.
Yep.
And then at 8:30 at night, I just said, right, that's it. I'm not touching it.
Yep. Same.
And then
my friends told me.
And then the next day, I was vlogging it. So I was vlogging my experience as a TEDx the next day.
Nice.
And I wasn't on until 2 in the afternoon, maybe. So I had that whole morning. And I read through it a couple of times, and I wasn't ready to get dressed, and I was up and down. I was just pacing around my house. And I'd originally said, look, I'm going to come and watch everyone else. And then on the morning, I was like, no, I'm not going anywhere near anyone else. I don't want to be anywhere near. I'm just going to go and do my thing. Then after that, I can socialize, and I don't want to witness someone else having a hard run, or because that'll make me nervous. And so in the end, I was filming it, and I was filming all these pieces, and I went and did it, and I thought it came out great. But yeah, the lead up to it was pretty hush. I've never released that vlog.
Oh, what?
No,
Why
but
not?
all that footage, never released it.
Why not? You should. That would be awesome to watch.
Yeah, I should. And I had a friend of mine there filming it too. So,
dude, that would be sick. Like that would like show like a raw feeling of like what it's like to like walk up on that stage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like for me, like I was ready at home in my apartment, like I think easily 2 hours before I had to be there. And I was there early too.
You were?
So like
you were there earlier than me. And I was emceeing the event.
And I remember like this was yesterday. I stood and I breathed, because how I deal with my panic attacks is I breathe as well. I wasn't experiencing one then, but I did panic on stage though. Nobody saw it. But what I did was for about half an hour to 45 minutes of that 2 hours, I listened to Frank Sinatra's My Way on repeat. Just to remind myself like how much work I did in 2019, just like establish myself in Australia. Because as soon as you come to this country as an international man, you're at a disadvantage. So I was just like, that song just resonated with me on so many levels. I'm a big oldies fan. And I just listened to that on repeat for like a good 30 to 40 minutes, easily, just breathing on my balcony. And then when I was ready, I called myself an Uber, because I didn't want to like walk or take a tram or anything like that, which I normally do.
Yeah.
And I just came, man. I was just like, okay, let's do this. Frank Sinatra's in my head. I can do this.
You sat yourself in the front row next to Dale, and the two of you were like little school kids on the first day of school, and you're like, oh, here we go. And then you both got up and ripped it to bits. It was awesome.
Man, me and him hit it off, man, because I was just like, we were joking around how I like set the stage for him, because like mine was like all like very emotional, and then everyone was feeling like
way to bring the mood down for a guy who's going to get up there in his pajamas and jump around.
And then Dale comes and he's just like, dude, Dale, if anyone tells you how good and how people are reacting so well, you better tell them that it was me who brought them down in the first place.
Well, Dale, who has also been a guest on this show, so if you want to know who we're talking about, Dale Sidebottom, he's in one of the earlier episodes. I think I described him as the happiest guy on earth, and I brought him on at the start of this whole COVID lockdown thing because I think it was a bit of self-therapy, to be honest. I was having a bit of a sookie la-la, and I needed someone to pick me up. So I chose Dale to come on the show, and man, the guy, they call him he calls himself the Energizer Bunny, I think, or someone does, and yeah, he's crazy. So let's get on to your movement, and particularly your work on Instagram, because you're still a student, you're still studying, you're an international student, so that brings financial pressures with it. You've got this pandemic that you're dealing with. You can't go home, I presume. No, can't go home.
I don't want to go home anyway. But
Yep.
yeah, like I can't go home either way.
I mean, even if you don't want to go home, the fact that now you can't.
But actually, though, Sri Lankan Airlines has worked out to bring UK and Melbourne students at certain days during May. So there are flights bringing back students who really want to come back home.
Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, but anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to throw that away like that. But what I'm trying to say is that you're a young guy with a lot of pressures.
Yeah.
And the work you're doing on Instagram is very impressive, and you shared that on the TED stage. How's that affecting your life, and more importantly, other people's lives? And where do you want it to take you in the world of, now that you've got the bug to be on stage? Is that something you're looking to do more of down this path?
Man, I would love to, dude. Like for me, it's just about like I know that I've put my hand up for opportunity, but like at this point, I just want to take a step back. But any opportunity that comes my way, like I will definitely take it up. Especially speaking. Like speaking has been like the easiest thing for me because it's so natural, and it just has flow when I speak, especially about issues like mental health and my own personal story. But when it comes to Instagram, man, it's been my outlet, dude. It's been my outlet to dangerous extents that I have to like slow down, but it's also been like outlets where I just can go and just read all these positive messages that people have been sending me or like thanking me, and that really helps me because I know that I've made like some small impact, you know. And I remember like it was yesterday where a girl messaged me. This was like a year ago when I first started talking about these things. And I made a positive post about like something that happened to me and like how I got out of it. And she basically sent me a message saying, "Hey, Sharan, I just want you to know," this is in summary. She sent me like a long message, but I just want to let you know that I was going through a lot of depression based on my family who have been very judgmental. And I applied for this dream job of mine, and I was going to skip it. I was not going to go because I was just in this state that I couldn't get myself out of bed, which comes with depression. There's a fine line between laziness and depression, by the way. Like if you're in bed because you're lazy, that's a totally different thing. So she basically messaged me and said, "Hey, like I was just scrolling through my phone and I came through this post. It's just a social media post, by the way." And she read the caption and she said, "I put my clothes on, I had a shower, I put my clothes on, and I went for the interview. And I got the job. And this was 3 months ago, and I'm so glad I went because this is the best experience that has ever come about my life." And I just want to bring that story on because that was one social media post that changed someone's perspective that she got her dream job that she was working at that time for the past 3 months.
Yeah,
that's the power of social media if used the right way. And yeah, man, it's been an absolute beautiful ride. Yes, there have been like some shortcomings because like as you grow, people will start to hate. They don't know your full story because like how much of your full story can you put on Instagram, right? Because you have to go through each and every picture to identify who you are and who this person is. There's no bio description as such. So like there have obviously been hate. There's words that have been called that like catch me off guard from time to time. But I had to remind myself, Sharan, where do you want to focus your energy? Do you want to focus your energy and respond to those for an hour or like 30 minutes and ruin the rest of your day? Or do you want to focus on the good and do as much productive work or like relax and just keep your mind clear of these things? So it's all about energy, man. Sometimes winning a battle means walking away from it. So Instagram has been amazing, man. Like I just want to prove to people, and there's so many public figures who have done that out there. But I just want to prove to people from my little island that social media can be used for the right way to make a positive impact. It's as simple as that, you know? And there have been days where it gets a lot and I need to just take breaks because sometimes I'm just too addicted to it. But other than that, It's great, man. Like like I said at the beginning of this show, I've muted people that make me anxious. I've unfollowed pages that have this superficial notion of how you look and what travel looks like and how lifestyle looks like, which great. If you can follow those things, great. But I'm a very minimalistic guy, so I had no reason to keep following those pages. And yeah, man, just like did an audit pretty much on my Instagram and just follow the right people and keep pushing a positive message, man. Like if I can just show all the screenshots I get like on a daily basis, either of people reaching out and being brave and vulnerable and talking about their problems, or the people who are thanking me for it. Like I'm super humbled every single day. But since I'm in such a scope of mental health, I have to know how to draw the line because I'm not a professional. I'm not certified. I can tell them what has worked for me. And I always tell them it may not necessarily work for you, but this is what I think of your given situation. But I always think, because it's personally helped me as well, you should always reach out for professional support. Always. The biggest taboo right now in Sri Lanka is if you go to a professional and if you have such a thing called mental health, you're cuckoo, like you're crazy, and you have to be instituted or something like that. So there's a huge stigma and taboo that I'm fighting every day in Sri Lanka. And there are other people who are doing it as well. But they're more professionals. There's no advocate as such for these things. So that's why I'm standing up for it and trying and pushing as much as I can. Because just to add on to that, the mental health scene or ecosystem in Sri Lanka is very toxic. The therapists are fighting against each other. They're not giving the right advice. I mentioned on my TED Talk as well, where I went to a support group for research. And this guy, who I still talk to from time to time, he was like he has a blacklist of therapists. And one of the therapists had actually told him, maybe it's actually better to take your life. So there's a lot of systemic problems within the mental health ecosystem itself. And I want to build a much more trustworthy ecosystem, because right now what I have in terms of Instagram or any social media is trust. They trust me. So I don't want to misuse that trust. I want to make sure that I build something sustainable for the mental health community in Sri Lanka so that good therapists and counselors can make money out of it, but also they're doing what they love. Plus, the people who go to them find the help that they need, not the wrong help, the help that they need. And this helps them perform better in their lives, which enriches their standard of living as well. So it's a cycle. It's a cycle of good, positive impact.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, and it's great for you to recognize that you aren't the expert. But if you're the person that gets them to go and see the expert, then that's sometimes just as important.
I'm okay being a bridge, man. Yeah. I'm more than happy being a bridge, because it's being a bridge for the right reasons.
Now, for people to find you on Instagram, what is the handle?
It's just my name. So like it's Sharan, Sharan, and then _VEL, and then it should auto pop up. But if it doesn't, it's VELAUTHAN.
There we go, guys. Well, mate, it's been awesome to have you on the show. I've got it just up here. There it is in the chat. VELAUTHAN. It'll be in the comments below. Mate, so in this world, let's just, before we wrap this up, in what we're going through at the moment, I think there's uncertainty in the world, what it's going to be like when we're allowed to move freely again. How long will this thing last? Will it go away? Obviously, these are all triggers that can add to people's anxiety and uncertainty and disrupting patterns that make people feel safe. What advice would you have for people, other than seeking out professional help, to either recognize the early signs that they need help, or for people who have been struggling to recognize that they need to go and be seen to, or to recognize any symptoms that they might be having?
Yeah, man. I think, firstly, let me start off by saying not everyone needs therapy and counseling. It's just an added thing that can help you through your life, just like supplements would in your workout. You don't necessarily need it, but it helps. It helps add in and fill in the gaps. But sometimes the gaps are so big that you need your help. I think the biggest thing or sign is where you're just feeling like nothing's working out. where you're feeling super like your heart starts racing when you think of a million things, and it makes you super anxious and you don't know where to start. Counselors can help you with that. If you're feeling heartbroken and you can't see the light in things, even when it comes to relationships, counselors can help you with that. It's just that you need to realize what situation you're in, because everyone's situation is different, man. Like, not everyone needs medication, not everyone needs therapy and counseling. But for you, if you think that you can't get yourself out of this rut that you're in right now, and if you think that the friends and family, as lovable or as awesome as they are, or as non-lovable, as non-awesome as they may not be, you have to realize what your situation is, and based off of that, make a decision. Because the thing is, acceptance that it's happening is step one, right? I accept that these things are happening right now in my life, and I'm feeling like this because of it. Action is the next step. Because if you don't take that action, if you don't take care of yourself, why should anyone else take care of you? Give yourself more self-worth and self-respect to make sure that you seek out the help that you need, be it professional or non-professional. So I would say, like, even if you go to counseling or therapy, if I didn't take the necessary steps or actions to make myself get better, I would still be in the same place talking about the same thing with my counselor. They will always advise you and see what you are going through right now and put it in a perspective that you can understand. That's why they're professionals. And like during this time, like it's okay to just be and do nothing sometimes. One of the biggest things that my therapist told me, because in 2019, like I said, I did a lot of work, but I had like 2 or 3 days where I did absolutely nothing. And then I went and met my counselor and I told her, I feel like shit because I didn't do anything on those days. And she was like, Sharan, doing nothing is still doing something. And especially during this time with such like news going around and everything's feeling like doom and gloom, and doing nothing is okay at this moment. That doesn't mean you should make it a habit. That's when you know it's a problem. But doing nothing for a particular day or a couple of hours or whatever it may be that you think is a lot of nothing, it's okay. You know, like it's okay to just be right now. And like I said before, less productivity is better than no productivity. And that's where I'm at right now. Like Jonathan knows I was super active on LinkedIn, but I've taken a step back because I can't handle too many social platforms at once with my mental health right now.
Yeah.
So like do the things you need to do to realize the situation you're in, but it comes from self-awareness. One of the biggest things or struggles that we have is like sitting with our thoughts, because nobody wants to sit with our dark thoughts and what makes us weak, right? But use this time to do that. Use this time to self-reflect and see where it's coming from, because now you have more time than ever. But yeah, man, in a nutshell, just take care of yourself. Like you first, always.
Take care of yourself, and then and maybe take care of other people next, because that'll make you feel good, and that's sort of what's helped you too, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think by taking care of yourself, you can take care of other people better. And I think that's something I wholeheartedly believe in, because like I said before, I was pouring out of an empty cup. But as soon as I started taking care of myself, I was strong enough to take care of other people.
Yeah.
So like your family, your friends, they're number one in your life. But first, make sure that you're strong enough to do it, or else you're going to implode.
I think that's awesome, and it's sort of, we've almost gone full circle in this conversation, which is, once you started telling your story rather than a story in things you're interested in rather than touching bases, you've got to understand that, yes, social media is happening on our phones, social media is happening on computers, but at the other end of the numbers are other humans. And so the more human you can be with your story, the more the world will relate to you and make sense to you, because you're actually telling the story you're meant to be in. And, then things start to fall into place. And, a young kid from Sri Lanka's come to Melbourne and now he's a TED speaker.
Absolutely. You can do anything you want, man. You just got to be happy. Like, don't do things with the wrong intent.
Yeah, and do you think that's the mind telling you you're not supposed to be doing something? If you're not happy with it, surely that's a wake-up sign that, you know what, maybe this isn't for me.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Like, I've been in so many situations in my life where I just look back and be like, damn, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a sign.
Yeah, shout out to your ex-girlfriend, by the way.
Oh, dude, she was pivotal in making me who I am today. That's for sure.
Sorry about that. I was a bit cheeky. It made for a good thumbnail anyway, the reactions. So now, Sharan, there's one final thing that we do on this show, and it's basically paying homage to the fact that when I get on stage, I talk about viral content and viral trends and how people connect through viralness. That's not even a word, but I'm going to make it one. And so part of this show, and I don't tell my guests about it, is that the guests on the show get to nominate and help line up the next guest.
Yo, seriously?
Yeah, so that over 10, 15, maybe 50 episodes or 100 episodes, we can look back and say, well, we started here and now we're here. And so I know I've put you on the spot, but I do it on purpose.
Oh, dude, I know a name already.
All right, you put it out there, mate. Put it out to the universe, and it will deliver.
So this guy is someone I met at one of his workshops. He's an incredibly emotionally intelligent and empathetic individual.
Yeah.
He is a leader in himself, and he genuinely has good intent. I actually work for him as well. His name is Josh Farr. That's Farr with 2 R's. And he's an incredible individual. Like the wealth of knowledge that he could bring to this show is immense.
Awesome. So you'll put me in touch with him via email over the next couple of days. And Josh, if you're watching, because so many people watch this show, I look forward to having you on the show really soon. Sharan, thank you so much for being so open and sharing so much of you with our audience today. And it's funny, that everything you shared, and we went to some deep and dark places in your life, but it all comes back to what's the story you're telling yourself, and is the story that you're telling the world your true story. And I don't think people necessarily on the surface look at storytelling as having that much of an effect on your life, but storytelling's where it's at. It drives the brain, and I think that's what you've discovered, is that once you started telling yourself your true story, hey, opportunities are coming your way. You're in a foreign country. You're studying at university. You're doing your mum proud. You've now made it on to the greatest Facebook Live show in Australia. There's all these cool things that are happening for you, man. And I only wish you further success and greatness moving forward, because I know you've got plenty to give and share. And thank you, A, for being in my circle, and B, for being on my show.
And yeah, man, I just want to thank you back, dude. Like I always say this, and I don't know whether it resonates with people anymore, but I'm always humbled with any opportunity that I get to speak. So I just want to thank you. I know that you're going to get through this as well. We all are. It's just about perspective. You are with your family, your beautiful family, and you're doing amazing things like this. So I just want to say thank you for connecting people together, and just keep doing you, man. Honestly.
Keep doing you. That's it. That's a great way to finish. Folks, keep doing you. You heard it from Sharan. Cheers, mate.
Thanks, man.